This is episode 41 of the Latter-day Saint Geeks podcast. I'm Spencer, and my co-host today is Russell. We're back with some more Hunger Games.
Happy to be back, and it's pretty amazing when I think about the first episode that we recorded together. It was the introduction to Sunrise on the Reaping, and that was over a year ago, if my memory serves correct. And so it's kind of remarkable just what has happened over the course of the year, because now we've gotten to the point where we've both been able to listen to or read the book, and I guess the next step is preparing for the movie release.
Yeah, I was just looking it up, and it was episode 23 that we discussed. It was last August that we discussed the 50th Hunger Games based on what we knew from Catching Fire, and boy, we knew nothing, but we'll get to that in a minute. Why don't you go ahead with your recommendation, because I really like it.
Yeah, my recommendation is a song called Nobody by the band Casting Crowns. And my wife shared this with me just probably within the last month or so. And there have been a couple of days where I've listened to it 4 or 5 times in a day just because of how impactful it is. And I think the message is really great. There are times when I have felt like a nobody. And this song just harkens to the fact that that's okay, because there's somebody who doesn't see me as a nobody, but sees me as somebody who is worth dying for and saving.
Well, and I know that when we were in the same ward, you were certainly not a nobody to me, so made a big difference to me then and now. But
Appreciate that.
it is a great song, and it's a great reminder that Heavenly Father uses the small and simple things, and sometimes I'm very simple. And at least the version of this song that I have in my cloud also features Matthew West, who is one of my definitely top 3 Christian artists, and I've met him. He's a funny guy, and I'm glad I was able to express my gratitude to him for his music. I've never met Casting Crowns, but their music is solid. I'd pretty much recommend any of their music.
That's excellent. That's really cool. You got to meet Matthew West. I think what he contributes. I'll openly admit I am not as familiar with Christian rock bands as I probably would like to be. But if this is my first introduction to it, it's a good introduction, and I can recommend everything else they do. So.
I'll send you some more later.
Sounds good.
My recommendation is the Chronicles of Narnia audiobooks. Probably nearly 10 years ago, early on in my, well, I guess not 10 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, something like that, when my wife and I were first married, we got the CDs for a road trip because that's how I stay alert best. And I recently started listening to the audiobooks again with my daughter, because I've been picking her up more lately from preschool, and it's a book that I can have on that I don't have to worry about the Animorphs killing people and stuff while she's listening, or parasitic aliens, or even Percy Jackson and fighting monsters. Narnia is meant to be a kid's book, and it's definitely goes over her head half the time, but it's something wholesome that I can listen to with her, and the narration is wonderful. I love it, and I can't remember all of the narrators for each of the 7 books, but I know one of them is Patrick Stewart. So if you want Captain Picard to read Narnia to you, it's available.
I think Kenneth Branagh is another one. So that's, if you want Gilderoy Lockhart reading to you, that's another good one.
Really? Oh, that's wonderful. At least he didn't plagiarize this one. Well, let's move on into the Hunger Games, because, yeah, like I said, episode 23, we recorded about what we knew about the 50th Hunger Games from Catching Fire, kind of in preparation for this book. And now that we've both read it, listened to it, and been consumed by it, because I enjoyed it that much, we realized we knew nothing about the 50th Hunger Games in comparison. Obviously, spoilers ahead for Sunrise on the Reaping. If you haven't read the book and don't want spoilers, stop right now. I'll link back to the episode 23 that we did, but yeah, in comparison to what we knew back then, this is some crazy stuff. Um, One of my favorite things in the book is just how it like brings in a lot of characters we already knew and kind of starts their connection with Haymitch. Um,
I agree with that.
Mags, Wyrus, Beatty, even Effie, and Katniss's parents too.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was really kind of cool to see the yeah, the origins of their connections to Haymitch and just kind of how their relationship kind of started and how he knew each of these characters that we later meet. I'll say earlier, but later on, earlier in the book series, later on, chronologically in the series.
Well, and even I think of a number of them were ones that we saw in the third quarter quell as tributes. So my little brother had the theory that the people in the quarter quell are enemies of the capital. Wyrus, Beatty, Haymitch. Although PETA volunteered to take Haymitch's spotlight, they're all like people the capital kind of wanted to get rid of and from decades earlier makes me wonder if Finnick and Annie and even some of the District 1 and 2 tributes from Catching Fire, if the capital had a vendetta against any of them.
It's a great question. I think initially with Catching Fire, it just kind of seemed like it was just Katniss was the one they were trying to get rid of, and yet when you read through the 50th or the origins of the 50th Hunger Games, it's apparent like, oh, there's more going on than just getting rid of one, we'll say, rebel. This was meant to be a get rid of them all.
Generations of rebels that they're trying to get rid
Yeah,
of.
exactly.
Well, and I really liked as well. We got the escort who was the precursor to Effie,
Yeah,
and she was awful,
yeah,
awful, awful, awful. Like, really believed that the district people were trash, and
right,
it's maybe it's like a could be compared to generational trauma or something. That not that Effie's viewpoints about the districts was good because hello, they're still killing kids, but Effie at least treated the tributes with respect once she came onto the scene, and that's why she became the escort later on. Still not great, but she also didn't treat them like trash. She treated them
right.
like celebrities, even though they were going into the Hunger Games. So it goes both ways, and it gives another layer to Effie that I don't know if I like exactly, but it's interesting, especially with the juxtaposition of her precursor.
I remember you when we were texting back and forth about first reading about it. You just made the comment that Effie had totally drank the Kool Aid that the Capitol was sharing, and I think that's a good
Oh
illustration
yeah,
of it. She just was like, "This is the way it is, and we're gonna just make you beautiful." And whatever happens after that was kind of like there were blinders as far as that went. Whereas her precursor Drusilla was all about like, "You guys are trash."
yeah.
And
Well, and what Effie was like truly believed, like I think, yeah, I said that she drank the Kool Aid, the capital Kool Aid, that she's like thinking this some sacred ritual or something, and not vengeance. And I think
right,
that also maybe says something about how the attitude in the capital towards the Hunger Games changed since the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, where they were literally thrown into the zoo and gawked at and just told to kill each other. Now, 40 years after that, it's become a spectacle. Maybe some of the older citizens still see it the old ways, but like Effie's generation, it's entertainment now, which it's not a good thing, but it's interesting to see how the attitudes changed over time. And some of that was deliberate, as we saw at the end of Songbirds and Snakes, but it some of it was, I mean, just the way that things evolve over time too.
yeah. And I will say it's been a few years since I've read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, so I don't remember all the details there. But I thought it was interesting here in Sunrise on the Reaping how they harkened back to the 10th year being marking a year of when things kind of changed. Um, Ironic that it was the year that President Snow was one of the capital sponsors or capital, I can't remember what they
Mentors.
called them, but mentors. Thank you. Yeah. That kind of marked a change in how the Hunger Games were put on. And again, as you mentioned, just seeing that change perpetuated here with the 50th year, and then of course into the original trilogy, and how those changes continued to be made. I also just think it's remarkable, just like I was thinking about ages of characters, right? So President Snow is like in his 80s when the original trilogy is happening, and yet
Yeah.
Haymitch is only like 41 or something, I think, right? If I might be wrong with my math. The point was like I pictured him being like this 50-ish-year-old who is mentoring Katniss and Peeta, and yet I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's not that much older than I am, and it just was a weird dynamic to think about. Like, wow, he was he's just been having a lifetime of misery, almost. It seems like, right? Like,
Well, yeah, and the whole last chapter or two of the book is just how Haymitch's life went downhill, and we knew that, but it also, dang, I can't be understated. I know you said you didn't. It's been a while since you've read Songbirds and Snakes, but I do like that they make callbacks to it. I mean, they even have a little snippet of Lucy Gray um, on the TV.
yeah.
It's not entirely clear if that's just for Haymitch or if that was broadcast, but it's like the one surviving piece of media with her after her games and Snow's involvement and everything was erased. Um, I like that they still kind of keep it vague whether she survived or not after she left. Like they didn't confirm technically one way or the other whether she had died after she left District 12. There was a gravestone, but they didn't say necessarily if like they didn't confirm like if that was just a memorial or if that was if they found her and buried her. There was just her gravestone there at the end. But we also got the other Covey members that some of them were in that other prequel book. Um, Obviously, Snow's involvement in that was referenced, but even like they referenced that Katniss's dad is related to the Covey. They didn't. I don't think they exactly said how he was related to the Covey, but I just remember there was some theories afterwards about how Katniss would be related to Lucy Gray, and it we got to kind of get some of that spelled out for us, so to speak. I guess I just like the continuity between it all. We go from the original trilogy and the other prequel, and this one is right in the middle, able to get the sandwiching the two together.
I did. There was a point we talked about, like wanting to have a twist or something like that, and I think there was a point. I thought that there would be I don't think I'm revealing anything here. I thought that there was going to be a point when it was going to be revealed that Haymitch's girlfriend, Lenore Dove, was the daughter of President Snow and Lucy Gray, and that would have just been kind of
Ooh,
mind blowing. But
that would have been.
there was nothing in there to indicate that that was the case. It was just one of those moments that would have been like, oh, wait a minute. But, anyways, I don't think that there was any. That was just me kind of perceiving, like when Lucy Gray was kind of introduced and brought about and things like that, and Haymitch was putting together like, okay, Snow's got some sort of involvement and intimate knowledge of kind of the Covey ways. Like, there's got to be some connection here, and I was waiting for that next, like, oh man, because you're right, it was kind of left open ended as far as, okay, did Lucy Gray survive? Did she not? Anyways, so um, it that's pure speculation, I guess, that I was going through as I was reading through it, and then there was no indication that that was the case. But there were plenty of other things that were twists and turns to keep you gripped, I think. So,
Well, and as far as a twist, I feel like, when we did our earlier episode about the 50th Hunger Games, yeah, you're right. I had said, like, what's the twist? We know everything about this games more or less. And I think the twist was we didn't know anything about these games. In Catching Fire, we got the glimpse of the games that Haymitch got during the recap, which he himself
right.
says in the narration that they cut out and even rearranged some stuff that it made it completely reframed the whole story.
And that was kind of the point, wasn't it? Like this is it's propaganda was kind of
Yeah.
was a main theme that was kind of hinted at that that was going to be a theme, and that was kind of what was going on,
Yeah.
and that was evident by kind of the recap and the information that we had about the 50th Hunger Games from Catching Fire. So it was interesting to get Haymitch's version of it, I guess. So which had
Well, and I could see that propaganda theme being taken as a political thing in the real world, but honestly, I could see it on both sides, or just the way that social media frames things, and it just being, in some ways, a cautionary tale about how do you view the media in general,
sure,
especially
yeah,
in today's world with Photoshop and AI and social media and everything else. Like, you know, just what's on the TV doesn't necessarily mean anything.
right.
What's on your phone doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Storytelling is an art, and sometimes you can um, cater the story to go the way you want it to go, or go a different way. And so, yeah, it can be challenging, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want to say any more about that, other than just the importance of having the Holy Ghost to be your guide. I think is evident by how easily it can be to be deceived, even if you don't think you're being deceived.
And even just like slow down and have some common sense. If something seems too extreme, it probably is.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So, but as far as framing this story, I like that they brought it back around as at the end of Mockingjay, PETA and Katniss started putting together this memory book of the people they lost and everything. And I love that they made this book part of that memory book. It was a chance for Haymitch to tell what really happened. Um, and it's heartbreaking and romantic that it took him forever to, put those, pen to paper kind of thing. Because he says in the epilogue, it took him a long time to agree to put his story down. Um, and really, in some ways, and my brother and I discussed this, that um, this would be that PETA and Katniss's memory book would be a wonderful way to tell more Hunger Games stories without having to have a book for every games.
Sure.
There's 70 plus years of games. Um, why not have like a anthology book where short stories about different victors or their experiences or whatever. Um, doesn't necessarily even need to be a full on book, just stories about all the world of Panem.
I've often said that I want to have more information about characters from Harry Potter, right? I would love to get, and we get backstories about people and stuff like that, but I've often wanted to see things from their vantage point as far as how the Harry Potter series goes through. And I think something similar with this memory book would be interesting, just as far as seeing things from different people's perspectives. And the memory book is a good way of putting that, as far as people's different victors or even tributes upbringing. I think that that was something that was very interesting for me just during Sunrise on the Reaping, was how vested I felt in each of the characters from District 12 specifically, just because we got most character development from them. But even some of the other tributes that Haymitch interacted with, it was just like, oh man, I really want them to make it. I really want, and of course we know, like, there's only one victor, with the exception of being Katniss and Peeta. There's only one victor. We know who that victor is, and yet I still was like heartbroken hearing about different tributes' deaths. It was just like, ah, oh, I wish there was some way that that didn't have to happen. And
Right.
so
Like with like I mean Maisie Lee and um
Wyatt,
Luella
Luella,
and Beatty's son, I forget his name, but like there's just so
Hector.
many you she did a good job of getting us invested in those characters even though we knew that they were going to die.
Yep, that's it. Yeah.
So,
And so the memory book kind of would be a good opportunity to just, I don't know, get more stories if needed, I guess.
yeah.
And I think you're right. It doesn't have to be full on uh, further books in the series. I I think that the memory book would be a good way of just kind of keeping the world of Pan Am alive, I guess,
Yeah.
or
I don't
just
know how you'd turn that into a movie because she had a
yeah,
movie deal before the book even came out. Like the movie was announced right after the book was announced. Like I don't know how she'd get a movie deal for a memory book like that, but get a Netflix series and show. I don't know. Like there's so many things you could do with this world.
sure.
So
Pottermore is a good model. Kind of, I think that there
yeah,
have been different stories shared or illustrations or different things there that have been used there. I maybe it's been
yeah.
changed to different names. Anyways, something similar could happen here with Pan Am.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely. Speaking of the movie, though, it's not until next year. We don't get the. It's in production right now, they say, but it's not expected to come out until late 2026. Um, as of right now, we only have four people cast: um, Haymitch, Maisie, Lenore, and Plutarch. And I'm interested to see how it goes. I don't recognize a lot of the names. We got Jesse Plemons as Plutarch, McKenna Grace as Maisie, Joseph Zeta as Haymitch, and Whitney Peak as Lenore. The only one I recognize in there is McKenna Grace because I've seen her on shows as a child actress, like Young Sheldon. So, in some ways, to me, it's mind blowing that she's old enough to be in the Hunger Games.
gotcha.
But she's been around a while, so and she's a good actress, especially for child as far as child actors go. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But yeah, not a lot known about the movie yet, except that it's coming, and we have a couple announcements.
Pretty exciting, just to see how it goes.
I will be interested to see how they cast President Snow, because, like you said, at the original trilogy, he was senior citizen. In
Yeah,
the prequel, he was young
teenager.
adult. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's trying to remember if he was like 16 or 18. But yeah, he was young. Um, and in this one, he's middle aged. So, I mean, there's no way they could be using the same actor from the prequel. So to cast someone at each stage of his life is because he's a different person at each stage too.
Yep.
Anything else you want to quickly say about Sunrise on the Reaping, other than go read it?
I think that's the biggest message right now. It was good and enjoyable. So
We both got sidetracked from our Animorphs reading club because we were so enthralled by Sunrise on the Reaping.
that's right.
But fortunately, I wasn't planning on doing the Animorphs our first Animorphs episode until later this month, anyways.
That
So it
works
worked
out
out
well.
well.
That works out well.
So so I think no better way to sign off than may the odds be ever in your favor.
Indeed.
Thank you for listening to the Latter-day Saint Geeks podcast. We're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but we don't represent the church in any official capacity. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and to review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Select episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Show notes and additional content are available on our blog, latterdaysaintgeeks.com. Intro and outro music were provided by David Schradell.